or didn't want me to make this joke. I'm gonna do it anyways. Isaiah's a friend of mine. He doesn't like the fact that homos, woohoo, they're devolved species of us, those homos. Not the gay ones. The Homo habilis. And that's what we're moving on to next is the Homo species, what we become. Now we start with Homo habilis, and I'm going to pull up my data on him. We start out with the Homo habilis and all his shenanigans, all his fun. The habilis, though, has an interesting thing about him. He might look more ape-like, but you do notice something about his skeleton. His skeleton is interesting, and that's what I would love to bring forth. Is the fact that his skeleton shows just amazing growth in the walking ability, the bipedalism. Like, compared to Lucy and the Afarensis and the Africana species, bipedalism increased drastically. I couldn't tell you how much this would be a difference, because you see a more inclined sort of base hip placement. We see a more kind of interesting placement of where their feet are, so they're walking now. They have larger brains compared to the Bosei, the Robustus, and the Afarensis, and the Africanos. They have a larger brain size. They have a more forehead, so it means they are imagining new things. They aren't thinking of new things. And I forgot to mention that. We have a frontal lobe that allows us to have creativity. We like to invent things. And I am amazed sometimes about the creativity that we can come up with, stories of a sort. But back to Erectus. No, habilis. Habilis was species, walked on two legs, hunted, was eating more meat. You can tell by the canines, they're getting sharper, they're becoming more and more like actual... Excuse me, let me get a drink. They're becoming more like a demi-human. And scientists think that there is no hair on them, that they're losing their hair. I could agree with that. Mainly because it's getting warmer, it's getting drier, it's getting more desert-like. We see the habilis going different, doing different things than what Africanus and Afarensis were doing. That's for sure, because they're hunting. They're using interesting things. We can consider these guys our direct ancestors. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like deeply sick right now. I'm coughing up loogies. I need to get this done. I'm really sorry about if I'm not loud enough, if I'm choking up, I'm coughing like a fiend. I'm bad. I'm doing really bad, guys. Anyways, we can see that it was short. We're gonna call it short. Now, it had a less protruding face, and what I mean by that is the angle of the facial feature is less ape-like and more human. You start to notice that the angle of incline is increasing of the jaw to nose ratio. It's increasing the angle of that protrusion, and slowly we'll get to the humans where we're almost flat faced, and then our facial features literally we move like an inward wave. I could explain that when we get to the Homo sapiens, us. But other than that, boo 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 boo. Yeah, and they didn't make tools. See, that's what we find. Things. We don't find tools. We find hand stones. We're not intentionally making things at this point in time. We are, however, seeing that they are cutting things. They are eating more meat. They are hunting. They're doing something weird. They're being the coolest, ridiculous looking guys in the world, becoming smarter and smarter and smarter. So eventually, like, a small subgroup breaks off, and you get the Homo erectus. These guys, also direct ancestor. They seem to be amazing. They're definitely more human-like than anything I've ever seen. Compared to Neanderthal and Homo sapien, these are definitely the second closest. They're getting there. Humans are getting closer to the final evolution of man, where our faces are becoming more and more slanted in an upright position. We are becoming more and more understanding of these people. We're understanding each other. We're starting to come up with speech and stone tools and other shenanigans. Yes, I said it. We're starting to make tools. Yeah, we're starting to make tools, guys. We have reached intelligence. Intelligence where we understand what it means to live. That is to kill with a tool. We're noticing that, again, all these species in the Horn, we notice Habilis and Erectus actually are moving out. They're going to Asia, they're going to Europe, they're creating a society where they're moving around, they're living, they're existing alongside Habilis, they're existing alongside Gaster. Gaster is controversy. I'm not going to go over them because they're so close to Habilis, and it's really difficult to tell them apart. So, Erectus is generally found in the cool guys, because they are moving around, they're making stone tools, they're looking more human-like, they're losing their hair, they're losing everything, they're moving place to place, living among everyone, and then becoming, splitting off. And I guess I should probably clarify, splitting off into two groups, the Neanderthalis and the Homo sapien. We'll start with Neanderthal because they're the most controversial at this point, because they're the coolest. Let's be honest. Neanderthal, as we're used to saying it, is accurate. Found in the foothills of the Great Neanderthal Valley of Germany. The great emperor decided, hey, these things existed. Let's name them after the place that we found them. They're our ancient ancestors. Scientists will say, no, they died out. Have you ever seen a Norseman or anyone of any Germanic or Ruskav culture? I'd say they're pretty much like Neanderthals today. Their bone structure, they're thick, they're bulky, they have big, thick skulls with large brows, mandibles like humans, which, by the way, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals probably had children. I'm going to say that right now. That's probably why we find like a intertwining of species. They had the largest brain size. They had a bigger brain size than Homo sapiens, which also would make sense because they needed to survive more, and they ate more meat generally than Homo sapien. But the Homo sapien ate meat as well for diet. Like, there's a time period in the Homo species thing where we're eating meat. And that's all we're really eating is meat and roots and mushrooms, and the vegetable department's pretty low down there. That's like our backup food. That's like, if we're starving, we're eating bread. Bread wasn't invented until Homo sapiens came around and created the Great Bread Valley, where they baked bread and they used the grain to cook. And a whole backstory in Egypt and in Byzantium and all the ziggurats, but we're not going there because we're still on the great Neanderthal, the mountain men, Homo sapiens. These guys were strong, they're hard-willed, they knew what they were doing, and they could take a hit. Scientists have looked at some Neanderthal skulls, and it looks like they took a significant amount of damage, which, when you think about it, helps when you're trying to take down a woolly mammoth. Approximately 40 times your weight in meat and blood. And these guys are making tools, they're making spears, they're making tons of things. Homo sapiens are also making tools. I'm moving on to them. To us, the great Homo sapien, the great man of all time. Homo sapien. Where have we fallen so much? Homo sapiens, we made it, guys. We made it. The great Homo sapien, the great race, the great time, the great place, the great everything, because why the hell not? Homo sapiens, us, we think in the Christian church we're led to believe Homo sapiens, white people. Misconception, colored people. Because we first find evidence of Homo sapiens in Africa, and that's dated back, and that's the furthest back we can find it, is in Africa. And we spread out. We grew. We made progress. Significant progress in everything. Yeah. Homo sapiens, we are gracile, more gracile than every other species. And when I say gracile, I mean what I was arguing about with Bosai and Robustus not actually being probably part of the human lineage, being more part of the gorilla lineage, was the fact that we can walk on two legs. It is not difficult. It is easy. If anything, it's becoming easier every day. We're evolving, changing to our society, which means we're out walking everywhere. We're not on our forearms. We're not doing anything. And we see that with Abilis too. We're not walking on our forearms. Let's be honest, guys. It's easier to walk around on two legs than it is to do it on four legs with our body structure. It's that simple. Now, back to what I was saying. Homo sapien, our cranial capacity is second largest to that of Neanderthal. We can use more of our brain than Neanderthal, which is interesting. We have a more intelligent view on things, I guess we could say it, than Neanderthal. But we're not that much different from them. And I hate to say this, but if anything, we are them. We are Neanderthal and Homo sapien should almost be combined to the point because they lived at the same time. They came in contact with each other. They looked exactly like humans. One wild night, one stray grain of overboiled alcohol, or any kind of fermented berry. You never know. Anything can happen. But anyways, guys, that was the Doomed Pielord's thing on evolution. The evolution of man and how we got here, what my personal beliefs are on what we did. I am sick. I'm going to cough up a couple loogies. I'm going to try and clear up my throat for Tuesdays when we're presenting these things. If anything, I will see you guys next time.